All right, hello everybody. Hello dear traders. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Yaroslav and let me ask you right away, do you want a quick and easy guide to help you trade better? Well, if the answer to that is yes, then you came to the right place. I'm a market analyst with over 10 years of analytical experience. And so today I will give you a quick and easy method of trading in the markets. Notice how I said method. I'm not just going to give you a trade strategy or a bunch of indicators and parameters. I'm actually going to give you a step-by-step approach and some tips and tricks that may increase or improve something that you already may be doing. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. I do want to hear from you guys how you're doing, how trading is in general for you. If you have any comments, concerns, or complaints, go ahead and please write them in chat. This is a live event where we will be talking together. So great. If you guys haven't done so, make sure to subscribe to our different social media pages. We do have an Instagram page. We do have a Facebook page, so you can get more information on those social media sites. All right, so I'm going to periodically be looking at chat, but I will be doing it in the middle of the webinar and then more towards the end. So what do you start with when you approach the market? So here we have the stock of Netflix. Where do we even begin? The first thing that I want all of you to write down, and yes, during this webinar, it will be helpful to write things down. You want to have, some of you may have heard this, but there's a 3-screen strategy. It was originally proposed by Alexander Elder. He was a trader. He's still alive, actually. And you want to start with a graph that gives you a large understanding of what the market is doing. Now, I have a 7-day graph. You don't need to go that high necessarily. I was using it for a single purpose of finding outsized moves, comparison to what they were in the past maybe. So this is a weekly graph, but here we can drop down to an hourly graph and also see quite a lot of information. You know, for a really long time, we were here. Let me actually make a naked graph here for you. We were for a long time in a flat, right? This is what we can see from the market. For a long time, we were in a flat, and now we have some upward momentum that broke us out here. Now, you know, what obviously you're going to expect. See, the 7-day actually gives me a really nice understanding as well, or a nice look of where we came from when we were trading Netflix in the past. But so the first thing you want to do is have a look at the 1-day graph. Maybe this is a little bit misleading because from here, perhaps the price could drop down. Let's have a look at something else. Let's have a look at Alibaba. Oof, very, very bearish trend that you guys can see here. So the second idea, the second step you need to take is drop down to a smaller time frame, say an hourly time frame. But on the 1-day graph, you really want to be looking for trade ideas. You want to be looking for trade entries. This is your really quickly scanning time frame. So once we say here, we have a look at AMD, it looks like a really nice flag pattern or a triangle pattern that's coming close together, like so. And then, so we drop down to the 1-hour time frame. The 1-hour time frame shows us exactly what kind of candlestick pattern or maybe chart pattern we see. It could be a head and shoulders pattern. It could be a triangle formation that we have forming right now. Like if we were to draw another trend line, it would be going from here all the way to here. So you guys can see how the triangle is getting formed right now. And so usually the breakout will happen in both directions. Markets are so chaotic right now, especially the US market, where there's a lot of, bearish momentum out of the blue just because it's time for a correction. So you want to drop down a little bit lower when you're getting ready to place a trade. Now, how low? It depends on how deep you want to get into it, but some people trade. In fact, a lot of day traders trade on the 1-minute time frame. So you can perhaps, drop down to the 5-minute to give yourself a better idea of what's going on within the day without really getting into the 1-minute chaos. Like we can see on the 5-minute time frame at a glance that this is the way that in the last half a day the stock has been performing. All right, that's one part. So 3 screens is something that you should be using all the time. Use a large time frame and use a middle time frame all the time. These are mandatory for your trading. Let's move on. What are other things that you need to add to an approach, a market approach? Well, I would love some math. Wouldn't you guys? Wouldn't you like to have mathematical, quantifiable effects? There's actually only a few mathematically quantifiable effects that we can really get from the likes of, say, oscillators or the VWAP, which isn't something that we have on the Olymp Trade platform. But I will show you where to find these things, and if you're interested in going that deep, then these statistics will obviously help you. So I'm going to show you guys TradingView just a little bit later, where we do have volume. But let's add that extra layer here. So here we have, right, these are, and I'm going from importance. What we're starting from right now, what we started the 3 screen system, is the most important part of your strategy. So now we're moving on to mathematical measurement of waves. There's actually 3 things we want to do. We want to add some oscillators. Now the oscillators are up to you. There's a few of them that I personally like, which we're going to be using throughout the webinar, and that is the MACD, standard as is, and CCI, commodity channel index, as is. Oscillators deserve a separate video, and because we want to keep this video short, I'm just going to add these. The reason they're needed is to show you overstretched moments or a change in momentum. That kind of change in momentum you may not see just by looking at this area here, right? But you can see right here where it was normal, when it became abnormal, and then when it really broke out. And notice before the large breakout, we had the initial breakout here at the bottom, a little bit of a correction, and then the second breakout was quite substantial. So very important to be using oscillators. Next, I wanted to show you VWAP, but basically what that is, let's get rid of maybe the CCI and MACD. So this is TradingView. It's a free platform to look at different stocks. It's a stock charting software. Excuse me, and it's for the sake of looking at the history of a particular stock. Like here we have Las Vegas Sands on our Olymp Trade platform. We have Las Vegas Sands, and using TradingView, you can actually get a larger history. Actually, wow, we got the history back to 2017. Perfect. So I wanted to show you guys VWAP as an indicator. It works within the day, so it helps you to open your trading positions within the day. And so this green and blue lines, let's get rid of the Bollinger Band so it'll help you see. Whenever price is above the blue line, this is the volume weighted average price, and actually you can change some of the parameters here, like the bands multiplier to make the bands bigger. But what we're doing is we're focusing on the middle line and focusing on a smaller time frame, like I showed you guys trading on the 5-minute time frame. Whenever price is above the VWAP, this is a good time to buy, and every time it drops down to the VWAP, obviously you want to be selling. But every time the VWAP gets on top of the price, then that's a bearish trend, and you need to be looking for sells. And as you can see, actually, it's a very good indicator of when we have a change in trend. Like I said, these are good buying opportunities, but when we drop below, then you start need to looking for sells. And it's not perfect, just like any other indicator, but it'll help you. On this platform, you can find all of our stocks, all the stocks on the stock SPT system. You can find them here, and you can use this additional tool and volume, guys. This is the next part of today's webinar. It's another layer of confirmation. Now, some people say volume doesn't work, and I'll have actually a webinar about that later. But here we can see when the position changes, the volume increases, and so that's let's look at a different stock. Let's say Nvidia we were looking at. Excuse me. NVDA is the ticker for NVIDIA. So we can see within the day on a 5-minute time frame how the stocks change. So once we have a large, first of all, confirmation, like if it's a large candle down and we have large volume, that confirms that, hey, it's actually time to sell. And you can actually sell stocks on the Forex platform. with the Olymp trade. And the volume, when it changes in the other direction, like we had this low, and then some traders attempted to hold the stock up, that was an indication that, hey, perhaps we're going to change. So when we cross over the VWAP to the top, hey, that's a great time to buy, especially if you're attentive and you're paying attention to the stock as this is happening within the day. Oof, really good preparation, and obviously it'll pay off. So those are ways of mathematically measuring your trades and the stock patterns that you're watching. Let's go on to visual aid, because as you can see, we're still missing something. So now we understand from a mathematical point of view how overstretched or how flat we are. That's another thing you could have seen with the VWAP, is it when price is oscillating around the VWAP, it's not a very interesting situation. Perhaps there's nothing really going on and you should focus your attention elsewhere. This is another important thing, that you focus on your emotional capital and where you spend your time. There's one thing that no money can buy, no skill can buy, and that's time. So remember that you have to first of all be a master at allocating your time. And we'll speak a little bit about this later at the end of the webinar, when I give you some real live tips and tricks on how you can become more effective. So moving on, the next topic, if you're writing all these things down, is visual aid. So with visual aid, what I mean by that is all of these indicators in the trend indicators, they can be trend lines. Like if we're looking at a stock, say we were looking at AMD, we're obviously looking at a trend, and so we can draw some trend lines. I'm just gonna move these to a different kind of trend just to outline it for you. Like so, just to show you what a channel looks like and what trend lines look like. So I just basically, when it's an uptrend, you want to draw the trend line at the bottom. When it's a downtrend, you want to draw it at the top. But this would be a trend channel. As you can see, several times price has touch these lines. It doesn't mean a whole lot in and of itself, because price can easily break out to the top, break down without giving you a lot of warning ahead of time, and you can really start getting antsy and shifting your decision making. Like you can get in trades and then close them, basically lose money on commissions and things like that. Right, for AMD, so trend lines and moving averages. Now I personally use 3 moving averages, but there's a lot of different visual indicators that you can use. If we get rid of these lines here, I just want to give you some examples of really good ones. Like I would say the Ichimoku cloud is a really good example of having a lot of information on the graph and give you an understanding of where we are in relation to the previous price, in relation to how big the trend is, because you can see these two lines, as they get farther apart, it means that the trend is either coming to an end or it's gaining speed. So when we have an increase like this, usually what I would wait for from when moving averages get too far apart is, of course, they're going to come back together. When they do come back together, that's usually the time when the price drops down to that area. So there's a lot of little details that you can actually learn while using all of these visual aids, like I call them in the webinar. Another good one is parabolic. Parabolic, I know some of our analysts use parabolic, and again, it's a visual aid that can help you see where the strength of the trend is. Oh, excuse me, I'm on the 7-day graph. The 1-day graph would be where I would be looking at all these things. So here we have, a visual indication that, hey, this is a very weak downtrend and perhaps it's time to buy. One other one that I previously mentioned in another webinar is zigzag. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because there's some tweaks that you got to do with it. And fractals. Fractals is another one where it shows you that, hey, we reached an extremity, and from here the likely path is in the other direction. So that's what a fractal would show you. And you would combine any one of these into a working strategy. Let me share mine with you. You guys have seen them in my webinars before, but I have 3 exponential moving averages. I just put them on like this, 1, 2, 3. One of them is at 50 with a blue color. The yellow colored one, this is an ugly yellow. The other yellow is at 100, and I have red at 200. Now, arguably these are a bit too high, like you can drop this down, but keep in mind I use one more indicator, And let's go through that. I use the Bollinger Band indicator. It helps me measure waves, like what we can expect next, higher or lower. Sometimes it's confusing in the market. So the Bollinger Band actually measures. And if, say, price drops down to the middle line, then for me that's an example to wait. It's not, you know, we're not opening a trade if we're not already in one. And if, say, the trend is very bullish, like see if I can show you on AMD. Like right here, we touch the top of the indicator line. Here we go from, let's say, from model to top, and then we touch top and top and top again, right? And if we come down and just barely touch the middle line, to me, that's an indication we're going to touch the top again. So Bollinger Bands, to me, is a very strong indicator that shows us a lot of information. And here, the middle line, the simple moving average in the middle, I have it at 21. 21 is the amount of business days that we have in a month. It's also how many days, say, a stock trades within a month, and certain months it's 22. But it's another layer to add, you know, some sort of correlation to real world, or maybe the calendar, or how many work days we have in a week, to the stock price. You know, maybe it's a myth. So far it's worked. It works as another layer of confirmation for me, and so maybe you can try something similar with your moving averages. So that is visual aid. Let's move on to something that is very hard to confirm. Certain ideas in trading and certain news that you have is not necessarily reliable. So I'm putting it right here at the end of our technical analysis segment, and these are, say, sentiment indicators. So what is happening? What are some sentiment indicators? By the way, guys, this is where we're going to take a pause. I'm going to have a look at some of your chat, some of your comments in chat, and as we're going through this, please go ahead and let me know what are some sentiment indicators and what are some of the things that are very hard to prove. I'm giving you a suggestion. One of them is news trading. Like, we can have the news come out as one thing and price does the opposite of what it should by, say, economic theory or economic law. There's really no economic law, it's really economic theory. So one way of measuring sentiment, I'll also get you guys started, is looking at a index. Say the Euro Stocks Index is a good sentiment indicator about how the financial system is faring in Europe. This is the top 50 companies, publicly traded companies in Europe, and you can do the same for, say, the UK. For Great Britain's stock market, it's the FTSE 100. German DAX is also an indication of how the German economy is faring, and the CAC is the French. We also have an Asia Composite Index, which is also an interesting indication of how, you know, the Asian countries are doing. So this is one way of guessing sentiment. When you have a look at the US, now the US S&P 500 is a very important index, because it actually shows you the health of the world stocks system. Like when the US market fell 2 weeks ago, you better believe that the rest of the world fell as well. We can have a look at the same kind of move, but it's actually more pronounced across the world. In other countries, it's more pronounced. And the German economy is very stable, which you can really only admire them for. But here, the rest of the European economy really sags, like really has meanwhile, the Asia Composite Index grew at the time, so we can see really there is a pull for power. There is a pull between Western countries, and predominantly the US and China and their allies. There's this power struggle that's going on right now, and it's going to be a lot of covert, I believe, a lot of covert operations, but the financial sector is definitely one of very high competition. And so the fact that you're learning about trading and that you know how, you know, what your interest rate is, how that ties into the economy, is actually a very valuable skill. It's a very valuable skill to have in the 21st century. So moving on to things that you can't specifically measure how they're going to impact directly, but they do impact and they do help. The next is, after sentiment, having a look at what's going on in the broad market, the next is the interest rate. Now, the interest rate you guys can find on investing, but basically the interest rate affects the money supply. It affects directly the price of the currency. And the one that we find the easiest to measure is the US dollar, due to the massive amount of publicity and all sorts of reporting that we get from the US. So having a look at the basic dollar index, there's a way that I measure currencies. We're not going to go into detail about it. If you are interested, you can leave it in the comment section below. Like here I have a formula for the US dollar, and it'll show me not necessarily the basic dollar index, which is very heavily weighted towards the euro dollar. Like, watch this, the euro USD. Remember how this graph looks like? Well, the euro USD is the opposite, right? It's the mirror opposite, because the euro USD plays a really large role in the basic dollar index. It plays like 40 to 60%. It varies from year to year as the index is updated, but I believe it's like 60% of the entire basic dollar index is the euro. So I use this tool to give me an understanding of where the dollar is going. And so we had the first attempt of going higher, and now we actually broke out. And this is the US dollar against the euro, the yen, the pound, the CAD, the AUD, the Aussie, the Kiwi, and the Swiss franc. So the basic dollar index is another layer, but there's also one other thing that you can do now. FinViz has a beautiful little section called Forex right here, and this is correlations. You guys that are listening in chat right now, what kind of correlations do you know? Like, I'll give you an example. Gold is correlated with the US dollar. I'm going to give prizes to the first 3 people that answer some of my questions correctly. And I know I said that we're going to do a raffle from our webinar yesterday, but let me see how many comments you guys left there. If there's like less than 5, then obviously the people that left some comments will be getting the prizes. But you guys can earn some risk-free trades today if you answer correctly. What correlations are you guys aware of in the financial markets? So I'll leave this question open to you guys. Euro USD, Pound USD, yes, they have that Euro USD correlation. So Prasun, congrats. You can leave your account ID. You're going to be one of our lucky winners. I'm going to write your account ID here. Prasun Das, good job. 4companiesofInvestment.com took some for free new investors. They reply calling me back. All right, Alan Dia Cho, on your own wave. Right on. So I'm going to continue on. Press on. You can leave your account ID in chat, and I will get some risk-free trades for you there. So the correlations that we have is the US dollar to gold. So right here, actually, this is what the currencies are doing in relation to the US dollar. So this is a really good correlation meter. Sometimes, like, I would trade, like, honestly guys, one of my trading strategies was buying whatever the strongest currency was against the weakest currency. So in something like this, I'd be buying the Aussie versus the Swiss franc. So do we have that? Yes, we would have that. Aussie CHF, Aussie CHF. What would you be doing here? Look at this, guys. Well, you would be buying, right? Somewhere here, especially if you notice this this kind of action or this pattern early in the day, I would be buying early in the day. Like, if we have a look at the start of the day, you can obviously see that this trend is going up higher. And actually, we looked at this currency with you guys yesterday, and I showed you that you can actually wait for it to break out of this level. Like, I do apologize that there's so many things here, but when this level is broken right here, right, that's a buy signal. When this level is broken right here, that's a buy signal. And it doesn't even matter if you're a few hours late, okay? So imagine you were 2 hours late here, and you open at this candle and it goes down, right? Well, first of all, your stop loss should be down here, right? You shouldn't have a stop loss at the top of a wave pattern. You would have it at the bottom of the wave pattern or below the Bollinger Bands if you're buying up. And the very next hour, you would be in profit. And one more hiccup, but again, still profit. So same thing with like any kind of correction. You could put this line at this level right here. So this is a very actually strong tool to use. And keep in mind, you want to be buying off the correction. You don't want to be going against the trend. And what I mean by that is, say here, we are going down, right? You don't want to be selling when the global trend is up. You don't want to be selling. So I believe it's this one. All right, you guys. So that is ways of guessing motivation. You guys, this is definitely a webinar you want to save and then come back to listen to again, because we're gonna continue going on. This is something that even less people think about, is routine and preparation. So add this to your next. Excuse me. Add this to your next section that we're going to be discussing, routine and preparation. Number one suggestion that I have for beginners traders is trade less. Spend more time creating a watch list, perfecting it, using scanners, looking at different sectors. Trade less, study more. That is the golden motto for any beginning trader, and that should be a part of your routine even when you become a great trader. I have trading books like all around me. I have webinars that I visit regularly. I have videos that I watch randomly pertaining to trading. Constantly be on that path of getting better, and it'll earn you much more much more earnings in the future. It's the investment that you can't skip on. The investment in your education. In trading, this is the one, I don't want to call it a game, but this is the one profession where you can't stop learning. You can't, there's always new technologies coming out, and this is what I mean. Like sooner or later, as you trade, you're going to start to learn about automation and learning programming and learning different ways of having, automated setups, looking at ways of automating your trading strategy. So this is something that will happen upon a trader's journey. And this ties into the next thing that most traders don't do but have to do, is a trade journal. Keep track of your trades. Keep track of what the situation looked like. Keep track of your thoughts. Like I tried to show you guys one of my trade journals, but I'll show you guys like a folder that I have. So you want to have, you want to keep track of market setups that you have and of trades that you took. You want to be doing this because it shows you a lot of things. First of all, you study yourself. But more importantly, you study what's making you money and what's losing you money. The trade journal, like here you guys, up front, I'll tell you, the trade journal has taught me two really good lessons in the last 2 months. One is the euro dollar is still my worst currency to trade. So euro dollar, if I just give up trading the euro dollar, I'll be up for the month. Easy. Trade journal, keeping track of my trades. Number two, gold. Gold is just incredibly hard to trade. Out of the 10 trades that I had, 9 of them were bad. So trade journal helps you to study losing setups. And this is the next big section that we're going to discuss right now, is it helps you to study big winners. How did you earn the most? What position was it? What currency was it? What asset was it? What was the setup? Taking a photo when you open a trade is very, very helpful. But the next thing that we are going to study and discuss here today is backtesting. So how to write a trade journal. Really good question. Really good question. Let me write it out for you. Let me write it right out for you. I'll do you one better. I'll do you one much better. So here is a free trading software that you guys can use. I have no correlation with these guys. I make nothing on what they're selling, but they do have a free section. You can document up to 100 free trades a month. When you're a beginner trader, you never ever need to trade more than 100 trades per month, I guarantee you. But this trading journal, you need to focus on it every day. Every night when you when you finish trading, you need to upload your trades and you need to scan them. You need to look at them. This is every day. Think about this. When you're a professional athlete, how many times a day do you train, right? You get up, maybe you have breakfast, maybe you train. Maybe then you come back for breakfast, then you train. Then you have lunch, then you train. So this is what you want to be doing with trading, guys. It sounds corny and it sounds maybe childish, but it's not. This is how winners in this craft are made. We're not going to go too deep into psychology, but you have to have that mind state of a winner all the time. You are going to be faced with bad trades all the time. I have a 40 40 to 50% of my trades are bad. Sometimes it's 60, but I'm still a profitable trader because those few trades, I waited for them. I sat and waited for them. I opened them. I knew the right size. I knew the right time to exit. This will come with practice, but it pays to be confident. It pays to understand that right now this is a market event, that it will pass and your trading skill will still surpass. Your trading skill will still be able to bring you money. You guys, some months I make 11 grand and then I lose 10 grand. Those months are killer. You had the money on your account. You could almost touch it and then it's gone and then it left. That emotionally is taxing. Like, still to this day, it hurts me. And so in order to fight with that, you need to have a trade journal, you need to have confidence, and you need to approach life, like everyday life, with the mindset of a winner, right? With how do you think like a boxer wins? How do you think any kind of athlete wins? They see themselves winning. They believe in themselves winning. I really I see it trading as a financial sport. It's very strange. It's a strange way to make money. But it requires certain skill. It requires certain skills from you guys that you can actually grow within yourself. And one of them is mind state of a winner. So answered that trading journal question. Let's move on because this webinar is running a little bit later. One other thing you guys also need to really early understand. Are you a day trader? Are you a swing trader? Are you an investor? Olymp Trade has 3 different platforms you can trade. And I love that this new stock PT service is now offered because it caters to some of those people that maybe did not consider investing, a way of trading, a way of making money. And so with the stock PT system, you can actually invest. You can actually trade and hold a position for a long time without paying any of the consequences. So that is for those of you that want to be doing day trading, right? You'll be looking at time frames that are a lot smaller. You'll be looking at resources that are a lot different from those that, you know, a swing trader or an investor will be looking at. This is something you need to really decide early, because jumping from 1 minute to 1 hour to 1 day and opening random trades on all 3 time frames is gonna be a mistake that's going to cost you money in the future. So the earlier you decide on what you're doing, the more, I guess, you kind of have a complete picture in your mind of what you're planning on doing, the better. Now, trade journal we talked about, backtesting winner. Let's talk about backtesting a big winner. How many of you guys know why Adobe grew? Sorry, let's go to the 1 day graph. How many of you guys know why Adobe has done this right here? I'll have a look in chat. Can you show your trade journal as how to write it? Tinker, it's on a service that's on my laptop and it's on my phone as well. Like, I use Evernote and I'm only allowed two devices. I tried showing it during my last webinar, but in a nutshell, like, I have when I open the trade, what asset was it? Asset, date of open, price, reason, date of close, price, reason. And I also have a screenshot. Like, I would take a screenshot with Joxy is what I use, but you can just press print screen, and if you're using one screen, and then paste it directly into that. You can use Google Keep, by the way. The reason why I use a notepad is because I want to combine text with the photo. But this trade journal that I showed you guys here, Trader View, is it was recommended to me today, and I haven't checked it out myself, but it looks amazing. It looks powerful, and again, it's free. So for those of you that don't have your own trading journal, it'll save you a lot of work, but you'll have to still, the one thing is that because it's free, because it was given to you, you're not going to value it. And people don't put value to free things. You, in your head, like, you have to tell yourself you're a winner. You also have to put value in the tools you have. Like, wow, Yaroslav just gave me a super powerful tool that I would have not found myself. I value it. I use it because this is coming from, again, the person that gave me this is a successful trader in US equities, and he has his own course. So he knows what he's talking about. And Yeah, I appreciate it, and I'm going to look into it myself. That's the thing, the reason I shared with you guys. So what am I talking about here? Adobe. We have no idea why Adobe grew. You need to find out why. You need to find out what the catalyst is. So write this down. Write Adobe down. Write down Altera Group. Altera Group just recently had a massive breakout. We talked about this like 3 weeks ago with you guys. Anybody following it? Anybody had the breakout? Anybody caught it? Find out why it's growing. Do the research. Type in Altera right here. Oh my goodness. Do the research, have a look at the numbers, and we're going to talk about this right here in a sec with you guys. I'm going to teach you some really advanced tricks, but this is for those of you that stuck around for, what is it, 36 minutes already. If you came this far, your present is that you got this information. So this is where you can do research on a particular stock. Altera, American Tower, real estate, U.S. real estate has grown. You guys should have been in a webinar with me last week where I said American Tower is gonna grow. Watch this stock. When the CCI breaks out, buy. Anybody who bought obviously would have been in the green. Congratulations to those guys. So now let's move on to the advanced stuff. So here we have FinViz. In FinViz, you can read on why it was such a big winner. You can read on why a certain stock moved. How do you do that? Well, let's go in Adobe. Have a look at Adobe. Most important thing you want to pay attention to right here is shares float and short float. You can actually use this information to pinpoint when a stock is going to crash or when they are already crashing, why. What is shares outstanding? You can multiply right here shares outstanding by the price right here, and you will get the market cap. So let me show you that. I'm for real. So we're just going to go 478 times 665.82, 314, 318. This updates not as quickly because the daily price changes, but it led to $314 billion worth of market cap. So short float is what you want to be paying attention to. This is how much of, so shares outstanding is the total amount of stock that the company is made out of. Share float, that is how much is in the public domain. That's how much public investors and public traders like you and I, how much of that stock they have. And short float is that amount that we have over here, how much of that is being borrowed from somebody and then sold. Shorted, basically, the procedure of shorting a stock on the stock market. So important statistics you could watch. Another important statistic is average volume. So this is the average it does on a daily scale, and relative volume, this is how much of the volume we already have traded in relation to the average daily volume. I'm going to teach you guys a really neat trick. So you want to be using this scanner. There's a scanner here, it's called right here Screener. And this basically searches through all the US equities and gives you a list that fits in your criteria. I'm going to teach you guys some really quick criteria. So remember we talked about relative volume. I want any volume that's twice the size of the normal volume. That is important to me. So relative volume over 2, and then we go here to technical, and we go to performance, and then we go say +5. So it's up 5 for the day. Boom. Out of all the US equities listed on this site, and I think it's all of them, like honestly, they don't have like exotic, like if it's on another exchange, different from like NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, American Stock Exchange, if it's not on one of those, then it's not listed here. That's the thing. Like you can't, there is a small Forex section, a small crypto section, but it's not as in-depth as we have this thing. And so here we have a list of 77, there's 4 pages, and these are all stocks. Like having a look at that little stock that appears there, you can see that they've all grown 5% for the day. And they all have an incredibly large volume, twice the size. So all of these you really want to be looking at, and then you want to find the best one, and that's on our platform, and you want to buy. And you may even consider buying on the Forex platform because it has a multiplier, right? This would be an impulse play. This is a stock that's in play for the day. And so this would be something that would make you money quickly in a short amount of time. So this is how you put together a watch list. And this is going to be the final thing that I'm going to leave with you guys, is creating a watch list. You want to go through, sometimes, you know, if you guys didn't learn anything from the webinar and you just want to keep just clicking and looking, this is possible. You just click and look with all the indicators that you have, with all of the idea of what a market pattern looks like, what a reversal pattern looks like. You just keep that single thought in your mind and you look through all of these stocks. Like perhaps there's a reversal somewhere here, although I don't recommend trading Alibaba because the situation with China is really interfering with the IT sector, putting on lots of bans, restrictions, trying to control more, and that's leading to tech basically suffering. And so Alibaba, we have Baidu, they're all really in a really bad spot right now for due to the trade wars. There's also the tension between the US and China. So a lot of factors that will go into why trading Chinese companies right now is not the best idea. But really quickly, just going through, like say you see this pattern, right? You drew it out before, you saw the initial breakout, maybe you even got in here. The best, you know, time to trade is a retest. I don't know if you guys knew this, that's the best time to buy. So whenever price breaks out and then comes back to the moving averages, best time to buy. So keep that in mind. So little things like that, right? You actually, the best thing to do, everything that I said the best thing to do would be to write it down on a piece of paper. And then when you're looking at the screen, you look down at the paper, you confirm, or you know, say, I don't see that, and then you move on. So in a nutshell, this is a very effective way of trading. Again, you guys can rewatch the webinar. It's going to be recorded and left out there for you so that you can learn from it. There's a lot of things that I said. Some things may not make sense, but try all of them and see what happens. I'd love to hear from you guys. We have these webinars every week. So the last thing I want to leave you with as I wrap up the webinar is continuing your education. This is the most important thing in trading. Again, if I would have just stuck to the trading strategy that I started with, I would, you know, I would have so-so results. But as the market shifts, as the dynamics change, as the coronavirus hit, as it passed, I'm trying different things. And all these things I'm learning as I go, right? There's certain trades that have shown to be really poor for me, like breakout trades. I stopped maybe 3 months ago doing breakout trading because I would just constantly be stuck or sucked into that, you know, flat. And so I would take the breakout and it would come back down. So now I'm taking reversals and I'm taking extremities. So I'm using the CCI after it has a really big push to the outside. As it comes back in this area here, this is my ideal time to buy. This is a daily graph, American Express. Look how solid this trade signal is. So from my studies, I've noticed that the CCI gives the best trade signals exactly at this area. And you want to be trading American stocks and you want to be trading them after some sort of correction. So there's different sectors. This is another thing you guys need to check, is that there's different sectors. Like have a look at this. And so a lot of the stocks on our platform, they come from different sectors. So if you see a particular sector doing good and it comes on the back of, you know, some very poor trading or a very difficult time, like say oil was being sold off and then it started growing. Look at the oil sector. It's doing phenomenally well. We have, you know, Brent crude oil directly. You can trade oil right on the platform. And we have a ton of different oil companies. Like we have the likes of Chevron, the likes of ExxonMobil, the likes of Honeywell. These guys make equipment, not necessarily for the mining industry or for the oil and gas industry, but yeah, that's it in terms of oil and gas companies. But there's a lot of different sectors that you can follow. And when they start to show potential, you can invest in them for the long term using the Stock SPT platform. All right, guys, that's it for today. I thank you guys so much for tinker about risk-free trades. I had a request for you guys if you wanted to earn some risk-free trades. So this was yesterday's webinar. Excuse me, no, not this one. Let me get yesterday's webinar for you guys. And I asked for people to leave their account IDs below. And so nobody left it. So no risk-free trades. Obviously, nobody's interested in getting risk-free trades. So only that one gentleman that was participating in chat. Let me see if I can find his account ID. There he is. So Prasoon, he will get a risk-free trade because he participated and answered the question correctly. The rest of you guys need to really participate, right? There's not going to be any handouts and freebies unless you guys work for it, because you just don't value it. So I see that nobody left a comment in the comment from yesterday's video. It means nobody wants risk-free trades that we're going to raffle today. But that's okay. It's not a problem. I do want to encourage you guys to communicate in the comment section. Like, talk with each other, talk about, what kind of, mistakes you're having, what kind of issues. Like, I see Rohit Prasad, he's saying that, he started with a lot, and then, he became really greedy, and he started approaching, oh, sorry, there we have Niraj and Rohit going at it at the same time. Yeah, exactly. So Prasoon, I see that you're the most active in terms of like intellectually active. He actually brought some really good statistics as to why Adobe grew. They had a 20% jump in revenue growth and 17% non-GAAP. Trading is gambling. Oh, by the way, non-GAAP is non-generally accepted accounting practices. So it's just a different way of accounting. I'm just reading to see if there's any other questions that I can answer. So Prasoon has a question. Sir, can CCI be applied in short time frame for scalping trade especially? You would have to backtest it. And this is one other thing, guys. Backtest the trades that went really good. Backtest the stocks that moved really good. Backtesting is super important to your trading education and trading understanding. Why did that happen? So this is probably the biggest takeaway of today. Backtest big market moves so you can understand how they started and where they started from, so you can look for that setup in the future. If I can leave you guys with some homework that will make you money in your trading career, is go through the entire list of all of our stocks on the stock SPT system and have a look at when they started their big move. If there was no big move, if it's a consolidation, skip it. Skip it for now. Just go to the ones where there's a big outsized move and try to understand when it happened, why it happened, what the technical picture was on the graph, and what the fundamental catalyst was. Because usually when a stock moves, $5, $6, there was a reason for it. And then that way you will learn to first of all, where to find that news, because in researching it, you'll go straight to the news, what's it called? Not catalyst, but news agency. And it's one of the best exercises I can recommend for you guys to do. Can I just trade with TradeLine? VJ, I believe that the more indicators you have, it's not like the more the better. If it gets too crazy, then. But imagine you were a spice salesman, like you traded exotic spices and peppers, salts, things like that, and you basically eyeballed. You would say, here's about, that's about 50 gram. And you would put it in a bag for them. How effective would your business be? How serious would your profits be? How serious would be people in buying your product? So that's what I'm trying to say. Indicators are basically a way of measurement, a way of measuring something. And in a very chaotic market, in a very chaotic world, the more measurements you can kind of comprehend, the more educated your decision will be. And that's what we want to do. We want to have high probability. High probability is the main thing you want to go for. You want to kind of exclude the bad trades. You want to deduct from your watch list if it just doesn't meet your criteria. This is another thing. Your watch list doesn't just get created once, you guys. You add and take away companies from it all the time. Your watch list is your tool that you have, either on your screen or at your desk, that you work with throughout the day. It's what keeps you focused. It's what keeps you, it's your business plan. It's your goal for the day. It's your task for the day, is your watch list. So use it, and your watch list will actually lead you to journaling more. So start with that if you're going to start with anything. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'm Yaroslav and together with Olymp Trade, we wish you guys good luck trading out there. Come back next week, you guys. We're going to dive deep into the stock SPT system, and I'll have some other things for you. Also, don't forget to sign up to our social media pages, as they also have different content that we may have not covered during this webinar or other webinars. All right, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and see you guys next time. Thank you all for coming. Peace!